Welcome to the Jameson files. This is a mysterious case indeed and left investigators asking far more questions than answers. When you look at all the different factors that we're going to be going into with this case today, you'll find that nothing really is in the ordinary. This is not your normal typical situation where a family or family members disappear, they go undiscovered for months, and then automatically here they are, but not in the position that you had hoped for. It's somewhat of a sad case where there weren't really a lot of results or answers. And we're going to dive into the information that we do know, some possible theories, and what may or could have happened to the Jameson family. So, the Jameson family, what happened? Bobby Jameson, age 44, and Sherilyn, an older couple who had a 6-year-old daughter named Madison. From the outside look, there really isn't anything super not ordinary about this typical family. They're described as friends and family as being very free-spirited, not having a lot of drama, but also residing in a very small town known as Eufaula city in Oklahoma. I was pleasantly surprised how low the population was of this small city. Current day is up to almost 2,700 population, which is just crazy to me because the Jameson family back in 2009 felt as if this town, the city that they were living in, was just too much for them. The lifestyle of the town, the changes of the town. Their sudden new dream, the Jameson family, was to move to the mountains, buy a bunch of land, and have a house built with shipping containers, which for those of you who don't know, it's a really big new thing in the last decade, is taking shipping containers and converting them into homes, because the frame and these big long shipping containers are all like the same size, different sizes, but they're all preset, right? You use that as a frame, you build onto it. It saves you thousands upon thousands of dollars because the frame's already there. All you really need is like wood and stuff to build, the framing inside the actual. Regardless, shipping containers is a really big thing the last 10 years. The Jameson family wanted to live in the mountains with a shipping container house. But here's the thing. The Jameson family, Bobby and Sherilyn, were both unemployed, receiving disability checks, which in of itself is nothing wrong with that, but to take up everything that you have, just leave, go to the mountains, start a new life, buy some land, a sudden life change, a moving change, going away from an already really small populated town. Like, trust me, I get it, being a recluse. What was really going on? Well, it just so happens that we have video footage of them packing up the truck that was found originally at the scene. Now, while you can't really make out a lot in this video footage, what was found out is that a brown suitcase was transported and loaded into this truck along with a .22 caliber pistol. The reason I mention these now is because when they discovered this truck on the land that they were going to buy, these two particular items were nowhere to be found, and even to this very day have never been found.
We interrupt this program for an important news announcement.
Special thanks to the sponsor of the channel today, Raycon. Raycon's everyday earbuds look, feel, and sound better than ever. These earbuds have optimized gel tips, have a near perfect in-ear fit, 8 hours of playtime, a 32-hour battery life, comfortability for days, but the best part of all is that they're a fraction of their price of your normal premium earbuds that you would buy on the market today. These everyday earbuds are so comfortable that they have over 50,000 5-star reviews, and they have an incredible noise isolation mode that gets you so immersed into what you're listening to, but most of all, they don't fall out of your ears. And right now, if you click the link down below in the description box, buyraycon.com/Repsion, you will get 15% off your Raycon purchase. Let me help you save some money while also getting some premium quality earbuds that are affordable. That's the key word. Support the channel, click the link. So on October 8th, they left, went up to the mountains, which was about 30 miles northeast of where they currently were living, and their truck was found, locked. It wasn't until October 16th, almost 8 days, that authorities were contacted and an investigation was launched for the missing disappearance of all three of them. They were last seen October 8th, 2009, and their vehicle was found abandoned in Red Oak, Oklahoma on October 17th. Nobody knew where they were, and they gave a small description of Madison with flowers painted on it. Their truck was discovered, and investigators found that there was no broken entry, anything, no broken windows, no broken tires, no anything that would indicate that somebody tried to break into the truck. There was no wheel marks to indicate that somebody was speeding or that they were trying to get away from someone. Everything they found in the truck included Bobby and Sherilyn's wallets and purse. They found their cell phones and mobile devices, combined with their pet dog that was extremely malnourished and actually on the verge of starving. They found a GPS navigational device for like when people go hiking. But the biggest discovery in this truck was $32,000 in cash just left in this truck. So at this point, you really start asking questions. Why was $32,000 left in this truck? No evidence of a broken entry, no fingerprints, no DNA found on the car outside of just the Jameson family. What happened when they parked that truck and went for a hike? Or did they meet somebody at this plot of land and they didn't go on a hike? Maybe they were forced to walk to a certain location. All in all, investigators couldn't really figure out what happened here. So the next day, they brought in a gigantic search party of over 400 people, and they searched and they searched and they searched and they searched, and they found nothing. What they did find, though, in the mobile devices was a picture of Madison. There's been a large debate on whether she looks upset or whether did Bobby or Sheraton take a photo of Madison, somebody else take a photo of Madison. Regardless, she looks like she's kind of distressed. Maybe she is, maybe she isn't. We can't really deduct a lot from the picture, but what we do know is the picture was taken very close to the truck. Due to GPS coordinations on cell phones when you take photos, they also have geotags. At this point, the case really just went cold. Investigators went and reached out to friends and family, and all they really got is that they were a free-spirited family. They were a nice family, and their friends and family were very shocked to find out that they, again, had $32,000 in cash just left into a vehicle. Because again, unemployed and collecting disability checks, both of them. Where did this $32,000 come from? What was the money going to be used for? To buy a plot of land? 40 acres for $30,000. After the search party, nothing happened. The case went cold. Nothing happened for a total of 4 years. That's right, 4 years. Nobody found them until 2 hunters stumbled upon decaying human remains. This was no normal situation. In fact, Bobby, Sheridan, and Madison were all laid out perfectly in alignment, face forward into the ground, in what everybody would claim, including the hunters, investigators, seemed to be an execution-style lineup. You don't just take 2 full adults and a kid, they all seem to be perfectly in alignment in the same position, in the same spot. A forensics team was called out, and they very soonly discovered through DNA and bone fragments that this was in fact the Jameson family that went missing over 4 years ago. Now, on the back of Bobby's skull, there was a very small little hole, but investigators couldn't tell if that was from an actual bullet or it was just from the 4 years of decay through bone fragments naturally. Forensics teams actually couldn't figure out, even with the bone fragments and teeth, the cause of their passing due to how long the bones had been decaying for the last 4 years. There was also no discovery of any sort of traumatic bone break, maybe being hit, nothing that would indicate blunt trauma. So naturally, of course, this left investigators more perplexed and asking more questions, trying to figure out what exactly happened to the Jameson family. So naturally, this makes me ask a question. Were the Jameson family all placed in the woods 3 miles north of their truck location after the original search party? Because if you think about it, 400 people and having, detectives and dogs not being able to find anything, and then 4 years later, 2 random hunters stumble across them, perhaps maybe the bodies were placed there after the initial search, which is why they didn't find anything. But then I don't really know the statistic data in these types of cases where they do a search party of somebody who went missing and they actually find them. Maybe it's a pretty common occurrence for search parties to not actually find people who disappeared. I don't really know. But naturally, the internet kind of does what it does. There's a lot of different theories, and we're just going to go through some of what the internet has created. Discovered in the truck in one of the bags, Sheraton actually had some handwritten letters written about Bobby. 11 pages, mind you, expressing that she finds Bobby to be very messy and that she wishes that he wasn't so much of a hermit. So what we can deduct is that maybe she wasn't the happiest in the marriage with Bobby. What's also important to mention is that Sheraton also had a past history of mental illnesses. She was also bipolar. And depending on whether or not somebody is medicated or not with bipolar and the severity of it, it can definitely cause people to do crazy thing, be manic, sometimes act out while being very euphoric, or they can recluse and be sad and depressed. But somebody having bipolar itself doesn't mean that they're a bad person or that they're going to commit crimes necessarily. The internet does like to do a lot of diagnoses, where it's like, well, they had bipolar disorder, therefore she probably, took the life of her husband and her kid. I just really don't find that to be a plausible theory, and I think it's kind of ridiculous to imply such. Because again, you have to take into account each of the 3 people were laid out perfectly, whereas if somebody's trying to take their own, how would all 3 of them be consecutive in a line like that perfectly? Just really not a plausible theory to me. Another theory that often gets thrown out that I believe has no merit or not even a shred of truth is they passed away, they got lost in the woods, they passed away, they starved to death, or they died of hypothermia, even though you can go back on older weather reports and you can find that it never dropped below 50 degrees, much less below freezing, and you have to have at least a freezing temperature or at least close to a freezing temperature to even get hypothermia. I do find a lot of these internet theories to be kind of over the top, but something that may have a little bit more merit would be that friends and family do relay information about the Jameson family that Bobby and Sheraton had an absolute obsession with the paranormal and witchcraft. So found in the bag in the truck was a witchcraft book, and something even more fascinating is that the shipping containers that they had purchased actually had graffiti sprayed all on the shipping containers that were anti-witch graffiti that was done by allegedly Sheraton herself. And the reason that Sheraton did this is because she believed that her animals, or cats, be specific here, were being poisoned. We also have a witness pastor who was friends with Bobby, who admitted to the detectives that Bobby was very into reading the Satanic Bible. For those of you who don't know, who have never read that book, the Satanic Bible is not a witchcraft book. It's merely a book designed to make a mockery of the Bible. And in fact, most Satanists don't actually believe in Satan. The Book of Satan has nothing to do with Satan itself. It's more of an ideology, like the Ten Commandments. There's just a lot of misinformation about the Satanic Bible, so please don't think that it automatically has to do with witchcraft, because it doesn't. But Bobby also told this pastor that their house was filled with ghosts and wanted to know if the pastor had any ways to get rid of the ghosts by some sort of specialty bullets or ammo, considering, you know, werewolves for them need a silver bullet, assuming that's where that stemmed from. Another theory that often got thrown out is the fact of Bob Dean. Bob Dean being Bobby's father, because there was some tension in that relationship, because Bobby worked for his dad for free income, essentially for his family business, which was a part-owned gas station. And one of the promises that Bob Dean made to Bobby was that he would get half that business when he became of age. This obviously never happened, and there was some resentment and tension that was created, and that's where Bobby's and Bob's relationship just deteriorated. But also 6 months before the Jameson family disappeared, Bobby got a protective order on his father, Bob, because Bob apparently threatened to... But the problem with this theory, though, is that Bob Dean was actually in the hospital during their whole initial disappearance. I'm sorry, I don't think a man who's literally slowly passing away in the hospital due to medical reasons can escape during the night and miraculously take out the lives of 3 people. Bob Dean himself passed away 2 months after they disappeared. It should be noted, though, that one of the detectives on the case originally made a statement in regards to the Jameson families being fraudulent scammers. I personally haven't seen really any evidence outside of a statement from a detective, but his reasoning for even saying this statement is because they were involved in several lawsuits, one of them involving the school that Madison was attending, another one from a car accident, and one from Bobby's father, Bob Dean. Another internet theory is substances. The Jameson family were involved in selling or transporting substances, but in everything in the investigation, including the car, the houses, there was no traces of anything. There was no discovery of certain equipments that would be used to create or sell substances. None of them even had a past with that type of stuff. So there's really no evidence to back the claim up that it was a bad deal gone wrong. And also realistically, you have to think if you're going to drive to a location to do a substance deal, I'm not sure why most people would take their child with them. That's just not something that you would typically take a kid with. And again, you have to rethink. Remember that $32,000 was left in the car, but who knows? Maybe they had more money with them when they went out to their hike or walk. They ran into someone or someone was following them. I'm not quite sure. And maybe they had more money on them that was taken. At this point, who really knows? I know I'm asking more questions than giving answers, but that's all we really can do in a case like this. But there's another theory, the theory of cults. Cults are naturally going to get brought up, especially when anything is involved with the Satanic Bible. Sheraton's friend Connie alleges that Sheraton actually had, there was a notebook written from a white supremacist group that had her name on it on a hit list. She also claims that she received an anonymous phone call after they disappeared that her name, Sheraton's name, was in this book that was involved with a white supremacist group. But here's the twisty twist here, is that while we can't really prove with evidence, what we do know, and this is factually true, is that the Jameson's house was actually being rented out to a man by the name of Kenneth Bellows, to be specific. And this is according to Connie, but apparently Kenneth at one point shared his white supremacy ideologies to the daughter and Sheraton herself. She became absolutely enraged, pulled out her pistol, put it to his forehead, and threatened him and said that if he needs to leave, never come back, do not indoctrinate my children. This type of rhetoric. This all apparently happened because he, Kenneth, insulted her heritage. But the problem with this, although it is true that he did rent out from the house, that he was actually in jail at the time of their disappearance, which is kind of a solid alibi, but at the same time, it is also speculated that Kenneth also had somebody in jail or prison from his white supremacist group seek them out and wipe them out, essentially. A white supremacist cult was involved. That's the speculation. That's the theory. But we really, still to this day, don't know. What really infuriates me about this whole situation and the case, and when I was researching this and looking into all of these things, right, is the fact that there was never any suspects. And the reason I bring this up is because I genuinely, authentically believe that the suspect at least should... The suspect should have been the landowner, because if you do some digging, you'll find that the landowner didn't really want to talk to police, didn't really have a lot to say to police, but that the white truck was parked less than 1,500 feet away from his house, and that there's only one road that goes up and down, and the plot of land that they wanted was originally 70,000, not 32,000. How was nobody ever considered a suspect in this case, specifically the landowner, who, mind you, waited 8 days before reporting to police that the truck was still on his property despite it being in clear view? You're telling me this old hermit guy who lives out in the woods, who has all this land, who has a lot where it can be seen, and the car is within less than 1,500 foot distance, doesn't know anything? All he confirmed is that he spoke to the Jameson family on October 9th, and then he never heard from them again. And quite frankly, if I was a landowner and somebody was going on my property or to buy land, if they were not back within 24 or 48 hours, I would instantly call the police. Why would you wait 8 days? That just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And I think that this guy should have been a suspect, or at least... I don't know. I don't know how all these things work. Something just doesn't seem right that the landowner really didn't have anything to say or add outside of the last time he spoke to them was October 9th. I personally think that somebody was involved. I believe that the Jameson family was in fact murdered. And that's why it's the mysterious case of the Jameson family. Please let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this video? If you like this video, if you guys like this video, please make sure to hit, I think it's the second or third link in the description box. Subscribe to my gaming channel. We're almost at 8,000 subscribers. It would mean a lot to me. And until next time, I will catch you guys next week for another video. Thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your week.